WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by JW Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air Tuesday, each and every Tuesday at 2:30. We come to you from Star Communications Channel 16, WCLN Radio. We're also pleased to let you know that the show is aired again at 7 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday each and every week on Star Communications Channel 16. Today we're talking about a subject that oftentimes is recognized and impacts your life in situations that's always negative. Today we're looking at it from a preventative way, things that can help you, and it's being done by two members of the Clinton Fire Department, Captain Ricky Taylor and Clark Strickland, who's a firefighter. Both of these guys have got collectively well over 55 years of service. Ricky, you got 34 in. Clark, you got 21 in. That's a lot of time spent with fire service. The interesting thing is today what we want to start with, we're going to try to get in a lot of stuff today, but the thing we want to start in is probably something that is most near to everybody's heart, and that's their children. And how does that relate to fire service? And what are you guys going to be doing with the Sampson County Fire Association that's going to help children know better what to do in case of a fire, how to handle it, and just kind of tell us how this evolved with the United Way program and Nancy Carr, and what each one of you plan to do and what you hope to accomplish. And I'll start with you, Rick.
Okay, JW, we're glad for you to have us today, and we're glad to share something that we've been doing for quite a few years. We started a fire safety program through the city and county schools in connection with the Sampson County Fire Association a little over 25 years ago. And it's also in conjunction with the United Way. The United Way actually funds our materials for the schools, and basically we have booklets that we go for each grade from pre-kindergarten through grade 4, and we furnish these materials to all the city and county schools, the Harold's Christian Academy, and like Mintz and the church schools. I will say, I'd like to mention at this time, if anybody that is homeschooling, that's one area that we've had a little trouble finding everybody, but anybody that is in homeschooling, if they will contact us at the Clinton Fire Department or the fire department in their district, we can make sure we get these materials to them. But we would like to try to hit all the kids in the county, up through the 4th grade. Like I say, United Way has been our partner in this program for over 25 years, and any support you can give United Way, Nancy Carr, like I say, they're our leg that keeps us going, financially. All the time and materials time and all that we put into it, is not funded, just the books, through United Way. And but basically we furnish all the materials, we get it to the schools distribute it to the teachers, and then the teachers present it to their students. And during a normal year, we actually go out to the schools and do a fire prevention program with the trucks and the firemen doing demonstrations. This year is going to be a little different. We're going to have to do some virtual stuff and all. But normally on a regular year, we actually, go to the schools, or the fire department in the district that school's in actually goes to the school, and handles it. So if any of the parents or the schools have any questions, they can contact us. And like I say, we just appreciate, the schools letting us furnish this program for them, and their help in it, and also in United Way, and also the Sampson County Fire Association, for allowing us to do it, and also the Ronald Bass and the Sampson County Fire Marshal's Office. but we all work together to, put this program together.
Clark, Ricky mentioned doing something virtually. Let's talk about that idea of what COVID-19 has done for you as firefighters, and also particularly as it relates to this program. Typically you would go out with a fire truck, the kids would be able to get on, touch, and fire truck and be interactive. What's changed this year? What are you planning to do different?
Well, in years past, we had a Dalmatian, and we had the public. We polled the public on what to name the dog, and Ashes was the name that we selected. And I'd train the dog how to stop, drop, and roll. It was a visual aid, and the kids loved it. And we would do things like that. We'd go out, bring the dog, and reiterate the material that is given through the United Way. It kind of reiterates what they've learned through the material we give them, and their teachers go over it with them. And I guess some teachers, we encourage the teachers to give the kids extra credit if they bring their packet back completed. But we feel like it's very important to teach fire safety, because if we could just save one child's life or keep them from getting injured or burned, it's well worth all the time, effort, if it's just one child in my career. But we know, I feel like in my heart that it has helped, and unspoken things have probably happened because of the fact that they know what to do if their clothes catch on fire, how to make sure that their smoke detector works, because when you go to sleep at night, your nose goes to sleep. It's what we teach the kids. So if a fire breaks out at night without a smoke detector, you're not going to get up in time to safely get out of the smoke. And we teach them how to get out safely, stay low where the air is a little bit better, instead of up. Stay low and go, get out, go to your safe meeting place, things like that. We just reiterate it year after year, as like he said, through 4th grade, and I think it sticks with them.
Ricky, when you get into some of these key things you're teaching, and as Clark pointed out, historically you've been able to kind of test with the students to see if they're learning it. You indicated the teachers will be actually going through the material with the students?
Yes, what we try to, the teachers actually present the materials to the students, and they go through it in class as the way it's been done in the past years. And then once we go and do a presentation, we reiterate what the teachers have taught.
The material itself, is it easy enough that you can learn by because sometimes these teachers might not be firefighters, they might not be trained like you guys.
Yeah.
So is it easy enough that a child, we're talking what, 4th grade?
Yes.
So they can pick that up just from the material in the book?
Yes, correct. The material is set for each grade level. So we have a different book for each grade level. So it's the books, and they're upgraded every year, but they're designed for the particular grade level that we're doing. So, it's gets them familiar with what, they're used to and the grade level that they're at. So it is oriented to a particular grade level, and the teachers,
and I can
don't
tell,
have a problem with it. Yeah.
I can tell when we go out to the schools and we question the kids, we'll say, hey kids, what number do you dial if there's an emergency? And they'll say 911. Everyone says, they all know it. And the teachers, we have to give them credit. They've done an excellent job helping us get, who better to teach than a teacher?
Yeah, and that's a good point, Clark, because I think you look at it and they're trained in the methodology of teaching and that kind of thing, and plus they've already got a relationship with the class. But at least you're kind of double checking with this follow-up to make sure, as you just pointed out, the little things that you could say, and that child might be the only one at that moment in the fire that's capable of even getting to the phone or cell phone or whatever it may be.
And it helps them learn the importance of memorizing their address, which is part of the curriculum I understand in some of the grade levels. Because we'll do a scenario where, okay, let's pretend your house caught on fire and you've made it to your safe meeting place and you've called 911. A 911 operator is going to ask you what your address is. And so I'll point to the child and I'll say, anybody want to tell me what their address is? And they'll raise their hand, and some of them know it, but I mean, and they're working on it because they're young.
Yeah.
But it reiterates the importance to the child of, well, you know, they might think, yeah, I might need to memorize this. This ain't, you know, this could save my life one day.
Absolutely.
You know.
Ricky, that seems to be, both you and I have been doing, I guess, this a long time back when I was at the college. You were out there doing fire stuff. It reminds me that both of us now, and I'm going to share some personal stuff, but both of us now are grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me, as I sit here and listen to this, my grandchildren, can they learn this and get this information out? And really, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Is that age group.
Yeah. You know, and if we feel like if we catch them while they're young, you know, it'll kind of stick with them. And also, I'll mention at this time too, some of the materials now are coming in Spanish, and we are leaning toward trying to get materials that we can in English and Spanish to try to make sure, you know, we cover all the bases. And also, I'll mention, we do have programs for seniors. We do some programs out at the Bellamy Center for adults, reference falls and that kind of thing. So
we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Welcome back, folks. We Should Know is on the air. My name is JW Simmons. We come to you each and every week on WCLN Radio. If you're driving down the road, listen to us. By all means, continue to do that. But if you happen to be where you can get to a TV, or you're at home, or you're in the Star Communications area, you can go to Channel 16 and you can get us on Channel 16, simulcast on WCLN Radio Tuesdays at 2:30. There's a replay at 7 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, each and every week of the show. We're talking fire stuff today. We're talking with two people that's got some experience. Talking with Captain Ricky Taylor with the Clinton Fire Department, 34 years, and Clark Strickland, firefighter there, 21 years of service. Wow, I keep thinking about years of service, and it goes by so fast and things change. But Ricky, when we went to break, you were mentioning some of the things we're talking about as it relates to helping children understand and teaching children. A lot of this effort to inform children has been going on for 25 plus years, plus or minus years. And you guys have been on the front lines and trying to get that information out. Let's follow up on the comment you made in regards to the Latino community. Sampson County has a relatively large Latino community per capita when you look at it. And how does that affect that community? And does the books come printed in Spanish as well as English?
Some of the material is in Spanish and English. More is getting to be available, you know, in both, but we're doing what we can to get in both. And normally the kids are pretty fluent in English, you know, because a lot of them, you know, grew up over here. It's a little harder to communicate with some of the adults, and we use the kids for translators sometimes. So you just have to check the situation and and see which is the best way to communicate. But it's getting a whole lot better.
Clark, how does that work? You go out to do a class and it's an in-person thing and you're talking to the kids. Does the Latino community come across good with you, or they're a little bit set back because you got a uniform on, or is there what creates that connectivity for you, and how do you improve that connectivity?
Well, like Mr. Ricky said, for the most part, it's been my experience that the children are pretty fluent in English. Now, their parents, on the other hand, may have a little bit more trouble because they've not tried to learn English at an early age. Like children can learn things a lot better, I think, at a younger age. They're more of a sponge. They suck. That's why we're focusing in on trying to educate them in fire safety at the age levels we are, because I feel like the children are more of a sponge, like I said, and they're more. I guess it's like that old saying, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Mm-hmm. Well, as you get older, I think it would be harder for me at my age to learn a new language. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, the children are getting it. And if we ever do run across a problem with a child that's very hard at understanding, we'll have a translator. Usually the teachers already have recognized the issue and have a translator there with them.
Do we do enough marketing, guys, with stuff like this? It's paid commercials where you communicate it in Spanish and try to get folks to understand you're going to be at a certain location at a certain time to demonstrate something, or they can go to a certain channel communicating that in Spanish to the people that just don't understand. Do we do enough of that, or is that something we need to look at doing more of?
It's possible, something we may need to look at doing more of. I mean, we don't really do commercials or that kind of, I mean, we're focused on the schools and going through the schools. Mm-hmm. Now, we do have some programs like with Smithfield where when they have their open houses or whatever, the fire department will go out, and present material to the, their parents and that kind of thing. So, and I know the hospital has like a career day or something, and we usually go to. So there is some of these larger companies that have this type of thing, that have a format that we can go and present materials and information, to their employees. But other than that, we mainly focus on, the schools or the senior adults, like at the Bellamy Center where they have classes and that kind of thing. And also the preschools, if they will have us in, we do some interacting with preschools. As we talked earlier, this year has been a little challenging, from that standpoint with the COVID. And so we hadn't done as much interacting as we normally do. And I foresee the school year, as we get this materials out this year to the schools, you got some students that are in school, some students that are strictly at home. So it's going to put a little more burden on the parents this year for the ones that are at home, to help get the material across. And hopefully maybe by next year we'll be back to where we can do more hands-on and more demonstration type, to reiterate what the books do.
While we're on that, and as you said, this is the year of COVID. I mean, I guess at some point in time in 50 years or 100 years from now, our grandchildren may be looking back and saying, I was living during that period of time. Mm-hmm. What has changed in fire service because of COVID? What do you guys have to do different, not just for teaching classes, but what are some of the structural things you have to do as it relates to response, as it relates to when you enter a home, all of those kinds of things? How has that dynamic changed? I mean, most folks understand y'all have something called self-contained breathing apparatus and those kinds of things. Is that becoming something you think about more when you're going into a fire, or when you're going into a home or whatever? I mean, how are you looking at it from the seat you sit in?
Okay.
Both of y'all, either one of you, or both can respond.
Okay. All right.
Well, for the most part, we still have to respond to calls. I mean, in that aspect, there's not really been a whole lot of change in. I mean, if we get called, we're going to go, and we're going to do our best to mediate whatever issue that we're called to. Now we're going to try to be a little bit more precautious and safe in doing so, maybe wearing face coverings or self-contained breathing apparatus, like always. But other than that, we've been responding to calls and calls of service, and
Ricky, do you think the public's expectation is any different now with you guys as you get there? I mean, it's like Clark pointed out, we're kind of in this world now of mask or no mask, and some people are very almost, you can see the fear in their eyes if you don't have a mask on. But if you pull up, is there certain things that you've started looking at from that expectation point?
We all carry masks, and we all have access to PPE if we're in a situation where we need a face shield or a gown. Those are being furnished, for us at this time. And a lot of it just depends on the situation they're in. I mean, some things you can't do with a mask on, but we're trying to protect ourselves as well as the public, and take each situation as it arises and protect us and them as best we can.
Give us a number. I know we've talked about a lot of this, and some folks are probably thinking, well, who do I contact? And you've mentioned who we contact, but can you give us a telephone number? Believe it or not, a large portion of my audience still use telephone, and they don't necessarily text. They won't call a number. So can you give us some numbers?
As far as
reaching you or somebody that wants to request information. I'm thinking in terms also of church groups and homeschool people.
They can contact Samantha at 299-4902 is the non-emergency number for the fire department. Okay. And leave their information, and we'll get back with them. Or like I say, they can also contact their local fire department that's in their district, and they can get with us, but they're welcome to call, talk with any of the firemen, or either contact us at the Clinton Fire Department.
So if they reach out to that number and they call, they may leave a message or what have you, somebody will get back with them, and if they don't hear back, in 2 days or 3 days, they might ought to call again. What I'm trying to do is prevent somebody from calling and giving up, because I don't want them to give up. I want them to make sure they continue to reach.
We should be able to contact them back, within a couple of days, just depending on what day of the week it is and all, and what our load is right then. We may contact their fire department in their district and have them call them back. Okay. But somebody will make contact with them and to try to get the information that they need.
Clark, does each one of these fire departments in the county, what do we got now, 16, 17 fire departments, does all of them have somebody that does anything similar to what you guys do as far as on the local department?
It's been my experience that I've seen a lot of the other departments go out to their local school. If they have a school in their district, they'll take a truck out, and a lot of times the schools will make contact with that department and request a truck to come out and touch the truck, go around, show what a fireman looks like with his turnout gear on.
Explain what that equipment is and that kind of thing.
So they won't be scared in the event that we do come. They'll say, "Oh, well, I've seen them guys before. They're nice guys. They're not going to hurt me," Because last thing we want is kids, if in an emergency situation, to run and hide from us.
Exactly.
We want them to, if they happen to be in a situation where they check the door and it's warm and they can't open it and they're stuck in their room and they can't get out the window, we want them to stay calm, stay low, and be ready for us when we do get there. and don't hide from us under the bed and things like that.
We'll take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.
You come out to replace a bad sensor, and that adds a 5-year commitment to my contract, and you don't tell me? Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody trying to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We should know, JW Simmons here. We're talking fire safety, fire service stuff today, particularly as it relates to children. And more importantly, as it ultimately relates to homeowners and people that have fires in businesses. We're going to get into some of that in the second segment of the show today. I want to remind you to keep sending your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. We try to keep that checked. We appreciate your input on programs and information we've had in the past. We also like to hear from you about people you would like to hear us bring on to try to inform and educate folks on particular subjects. Ricky Taylor, captain with Clinton Fire Department, and Clark Strickland, who's a firefighter. Guys, we've been talking about fire service here, and I don't know there's anything that probably is as important or as much important as informing people about fire service and what to expect, and also the safety angle. Ricky, when we were going to break, you were talking about the importance of folks understanding that you guys are working with this program in the county through the Sampson County Fire Association. You're also doing that, and you encourage people to contact their local fire departments, Clark, for demonstrations and that kind of thing that they need, which is important as well.
That's correct. That makes it a little more regional, and it also gets the local departments familiar with the surroundings, the schools, the teachers, and you know, if they do have to respond, you know, out to a situation.
On the remaining time, I'd like to mention again as we go into this this next half of the show is the number was 299-4902. That's 910-299-4902. Samantha typically answers the phone. If she's not there, somebody can answer it or they can leave a message. They can get to you guys. That if they need to know something, or they need to know something more about this training program for kids, they can get to you and talk to you about that. If it's a church group, they could call you as well. So if they do that, in a few days they should hear back. They can also call their local fire department, or they could call emergency management at 592-8996.
Correct.
And reach somebody there with Ronald Bass, who's Director of Emergency Management. So we want to make sure you got those numbers and jot them down. We'll try to remember to give those to you again. I want to back up a little bit and look at fire service in the sense of training now. Historically, Ricky, I know you used to work at the college some and get people through this, but firefighters go through meticulous hours of training. There's something called Firefighter 1 and 2 that's run through the North Carolina Department of Insurance. Those classes are standardized state classes all over the state of North Carolina. Just because you're from Clinton, you got to go through the same thing in the sense of the fundamentals as they do in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, or anywhere else. So talk to us about that and look at it. I want to start from the sense of the side of the hose that you guys are on. How important is it for folks to understand that you go through a rigorous training process?
Okay. Well, basically, the state has a certification program, and I may be off here a little bit because it changes, but it's roughly about 240 hours to get certified as in a basic firefighter 1 and 2. And this is all tested. The programs, most of them are run through the community college. And classes are held at stations, or the community college will have a fire academy that they will run the whole course that, you know, anybody in the county can go to.
And these instructors are certified instructors. They're required to be certified to teach the particular area they're teaching.
That's correct. The instructors have to be certified by the state and in the area that they're teaching. The community college is a vital part in keeping continuing ed. You have to have so many hours a year for each specialty that you're in. So if you're just to keep your firefighter 1 and 2, you have to have hours. If you're a driver, you have to have hours for a driver operator. If you're an officer, you have to have officer hours. So it depends on exactly how many certifications you have as to how much training you have to keep up with each year. And this is done on a yearly basis. So there's a lot of time spent training, where you're on a full-time, part-time, volunteer basis. All the training is relevant, to the same standard.
So Clark, I'm gonna kind of segue that to you and kind of toss this question your way, because I'm looking at you. I can tell you're a year or two younger than Ricky. So why did you get into the fire service business, knowing all of this training's got to be done, and you're risking your life going into buildings that are on fire? Tell us, give us a visceral sense of why people want to do this.
Well, I feel like I had a calling to serve my community, and I feel like the fire department was a wonderful way to facilitate that desire I had to serve. I'm healthy, willing, and able to do the things, the tasks at hand. Educating the children on how to be safe hits home to me, because when I was a young child, a fireman came to my school and taught me how to stop, drop, and roll, and it saved my life, because I had caught on fire one time myself, and before anybody could get a bucket of water or anything like that to put the fire out, I was able to remember what the fireman told me, and I stopped, dropped, and rolled, and I was not even harmed at all. So this stuff really works. This I can tell you firsthand, it worked for me, and I feel like this is a way for me to pay it forward.
There's nothing like personal experience, Ricky, to remind you why you're doing certain things, isn't it?
That's correct.
And I think we all could probably tie into that somewhere. I want to talk about a few things that, as this fall season comes into play, you guys have been through it year after year. The weather changes. People start doing things different. We have hurricane seasons. You guys are right in the middle of that. If the power goes out, there's certain things that people may or may not do could endanger their lives. I want to kind of take the time we've got now to talk a bit about some of those things. So let's start with and talk about this huge hurricane season we've had. We've already had some storms come through, several named storms. Folks in Louisiana and Texas, as we talked about off air, is experiencing problems. Oftentimes when the power is off and it's hot outside or whatever it may be, maybe it's cold, I don't know, it just depends on what time these particular situations occur. Everything from cooking to how people heat the inside of their houses change, and sometimes they may not think, but what are some of the things that folks do that concerns you from your profession?
Well, one of the biggest things is, and it's been on the news with Louisiana, a lot of the deaths that occur down there come from generators, and people need to be aware of generator safety. They don't need to run the generators in the house. You got carbon monoxide. The generator needs to stay outside, well ventilated. You don't need to fill the back with gas when it's hot. You need to let it cool off before you fill it back with gas. You don't need to overload it. But I guess a lot of it has to do with just being safe and use of the equipment that you're doing, where it's a generator, a chainsaw, a stove, a fireplace. You just need to be aware of what you're engaged with, and be careful and work in a safe manner to generate your end result, where it is to have the lights on or some heat or to cook a meal.
Clark, it makes me think during the last hurricanes we've had, it didn't take you long to go to some of businesses around town and see just truckloads of generators brought in, and these are portable generators, as Ricky's pointing out, and folks will buy them, and there might be a little instruction packet on it. You go take it home and take this cord and you plug it into this plug at the house, and it'll do maybe the refrigerator, or it may do something else, and that's it.
Well,
where does it start? I mean, before people buy those things, what should they be thinking about?
The safest way to do it is have a certified electrician come and have a properly installed transfer switch. Some are automated, some are not, because you don't want to be on the main power source when that power comes up back on.
And you don't necessarily know when it's going to come back on.
Right.
That's even scary.
And so you don't want to backfeed power from your generator to the lineman out there trying to put the lines back together.
Which could literally propel him off the pole trying to get the transformer done.
Right.
And these things has actually happened in our area, right, Ricky?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
so we're not just talking fantasy here.
No, no. No. I mean, we've had some carbon monoxide issues. We've had some generator safety issues. We've had some issues with
extreme heat with the window unit. I went to a fire one time. The outlet that was designed for the air conditioning unit was not working. Instead of getting a electrician to fix that outlet, they took a drop cord, which clearly says on the drop cord, you know, don't use it for this.
Because you overload the drop cord.
Well, it was from one room and coiled up and into another bedroom, plugged into another outlet. Well, that coiled drop cord got extremely hot, running that air conditioner at 100 degrees outside, and it caused a fire. And of course, they didn't want nobody to see the drop cord, so what did they put over top of it? They put a rug over the top of it to cover it up. Well, that created even more heat, so it caused a fire. You know, electricity is nothing to play with. I mean, it can cause fires.
We're going to take a break and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We got another segment coming up. We're talking about fire safety, your life, your property, things you need to know. We'll be back in a moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Thank you for being with us. We're coming up on our last segment of the show today. The name of the show is We Should Know. I'm JW Simmons. Want to remind you that this show that you're watching today or listening to today will also air on Channel 16, YouTube, also it's pushed to Facebook. All of those mediums you're able to reach this show on. Hopefully you'll start picking it up there in one form or the other. The point being, a lot of the things we're talking about today involves folks a lot younger than I am and a lot younger than my guest today, and we're trying to get that information to them as well because it's life-saving, critical information that they need to know. We're talking with Captain Ricky Taylor with the Clinton Fire Department and Clark Strickland, a firefighter with the Clinton Fire Department. 34 years, Ricky, 21 years, Clark. A lot of service, a lot of commitment. We talked about, as we went off air, a lot of the things that happens during different kinds of events, during hurricanes. We've talked about generators. Clark, you mentioned how important it is to have a certified electrician come out and take a look at some of these things. Mm-hmm. Ricky, the reality is, though, what we know is that oftentimes people in the air of a storm and no lights for 2 or 3 days and it's getting bad and maybe hot, and all of a sudden they find a deal, note the word deal, mm-hmm. on a generator, and they'll say, yeah, I can pick that up for $200 or $300 and I can get, Clark, that when the air conditioner going yeah. and their spouse will be happy. So yeah. they do that. Where are we going with this in the sense of the modern kinds of things that folks are doing now, where they go out and buy, say, a 22 kW generator, they have an electrician put it in. Is there a concern about where you put that outside? I did read an article where there was recirculated carbon monoxide from a properly installed outside unit, but somehow it got into the HVA system. Help us understand how does that happen, and is there different kinds of HVA systems that it might get into?
Well, I mean, there is different type of systems, I mean, as far as heating and air systems, but the biggest thing, it needs to be properly installed and properly positioned, and needs to be sized right for the load that you're going to have on it. You don't need to have one that's too small and overloaded. That's why you need to see what you're wanting to operate and make sure you get the proper rating, to handle what you're going to load you're going to put on it.
Is a one that's too big is equally a problem as well as one too small? Or? No,
I don't think you can get one too big. Okay. It just won't put as much strain on it. But definitely you want to have one big enough, to handle the job.
But if you have a properly installed CO2 detector, you got some peace of mind there that if you are getting some carbon in the house, it's going to alert you to it. As well as, smoke detectors are important also.
How important, guys, is it to have both the smoke detector and the CO2? If you think well, I really don't need a CO2. Is it just important to have one in the house? I know I've got one way or the other. I've got one. I'm just saying, a lot of people we've talked about, it's hard to get them to put keep just a smoke detector going. Now we're saying to them, you might want to put a CO2 in.
Well, generally what we recommend is if you have anything running in your house off of any type of gas, like
LP, air, heating and air, that's LP, what they call a gas pack.
Natural gas. Now, natural gas seems to be a little safer in my opinion because it is lighter than air and it dissipates. LP is heavier than air and it will settle to the lowest spots and you just sit there and build. Now, that could be explosive situation if it gets the right ignition source. But getting back to the smoke detectors, that smoke detectors have come a long way since I started in this service. Before we were saying every time you change your clocks, change your batteries, the little square 9-volt batteries. Well, now if you go buy a smoke detector, they got batteries that last for 10 years. All you have to do, you still need to check your smoke detector once a month to make sure it's operating. Of course, if it's malfunctioning, it will let you know by chirping I'd say every 2 or 3 minutes it'll chirp.
It'll wake you up.
Now, if you have a detector that's chirping, you're probably going to need to either change the whole detector out. If it's one of the 10-year sealed batteries that you don't have to change, you may need to just change the whole detector out. Now, if it's chirping and you got the little 9-volt system, you're well overdue to get a brand new alkaline battery and put in there.
Clark,
now, that being said, if you have the older style and it's over 10 years old, we still recommend you to replace any detector in your home that's over 10 years old. Needs to be replaced regardless.
So life expectancy, and Ricky, having some background in the appliance business, that's kind of what we've come down with appliances and stuff down about 10 or 15 years is about what we can expect out of anything.
Yeah, well, with all the electronics and the unstable electrical system at times, it's a different animal than what it used to be.
So that, and I hadn't heard what you just, this is breaking news for us here too. So the smoke detectors now you can actually buy that's got a 10-year expectancy on it. You don't have to change batteries or anything.
Unless those things happen, like it starts chirping. Or if you go to test it that month. Most people change their air filters once a month.
Right.
Well, put your little reminder on your air filter. Mash that little button on the smoke detector. Make sure it's working.
Are we doing a good enough job, Ricky, in trying to get what Clark's just talking about, getting it out and repeated enough, or do we have shows like this and we talk about it maybe once or twice a year and then we forget it, and then folks, Clark, just forget what you just said, and they're going on, and they all of a sudden something happens and you guys show up and you go, well, there was not even a battery in that smoke detector, you know?
I tell you, JW, every fire that I've ever been to where there's been a fatality or someone injured, every single fire I've been to, guess what? They all say the same thing. I never thought this would happen to me.
That's a byline almost.
So that being said, it's important to have a working smoke detector.
Absolutely.
Because it could happen to me, and I'm a fireman, and I try to be safe at everything dealing with fire. Ask my wife. I don't even like, she loves to burn candles in the house, and I despise
which is a whole nother area of concern for seasonal stuff. I mean, let's face it, guys, coming up this season, you're going to see a lot of that going on. You do every year.
But in speaking and carrying on with the smoke detectors, we do have a program through the state that we will furnish smoke detectors in a non-COVID situation, or we will carry them out and install them. Right now, they can come by the station and pick it up if they don't have one and need one.
Is this the 10-year ones you're talking about?
That's what the state furnishes us.
But
as long as we still have some available.
So now this is important. I want to make sure we make this very clear. They can call the number we've got here, 299-4902, City of Clinton Fire Department. Each fire department, they can call their fire department, but City of Clinton Fire Department, and they could get a smoke detector if they need one, given what the COVID requirements are, and you guys would actually go put it in, and what's the cost?
If it's in the city or in our fire district.
What's the cost on that?
It's no cost to the customer.
Can you say that again, Clark? No cost.
It's no cost.
Because I mean, I'm telling you, I'm going to get all kinds of
program.
To me going to say, did they say no cost?
Yeah.
It's a program provided by the state of North Carolina, and like I said, we've already installed, since we've been doing the installation program, over 1,000 detectors just within our city district. Now, other departments, I think Halls and some of the other ones are also receiving these detectors, and I think they have been going out. Some of these other county departments have been doing the same thing in their district.
That's pretty phenomenal, guys. I mean, I don't want to overplay this, but I guarantee you, there's a lot of folks don't understand that. So we're talking no cost, and the next phrase we should put behind that is no excuse. So if there's no cost, y'all gonna put it in for them. It's got a 10-year battery life on it, as Clark, you pointed out. It's checked periodically.
Now, I will have to say, just like buying a car, you can get a lemon. We have had
anything can happen.
We've had some that we've installed. They call back, hey, my detector's chirping. So we go back out there.
Put another one in.
We'll replace it, if we've got one to replace it.
So they need to check it periodically, as you said.
Does the consumer still needs to check it.
Does the county fire departments do the same thing? Or?
I think there's some of them are. I'm not sure that all of them are. But the program is through the state fire marshal's office.
Okay. So it should be effective for anybody in the county. And I always have to make sure I'm cautioned about information, because when this show hits the waves, people are going to pick up on it. And trust me, the buck stops with me usually on this, and then I'll just have to refer back to you guys. But that's great information, and I'm excited to hear that that's going on. I know in the past fire alarms and stuff have been put out there. I didn't realize now that there's a 10-year one that's out there, as long as you keep it checked periodically, and also that you guys are willing to go and do that.
And these newer homes being built, like our house, the top, the upstairs floor is wired to the bottom. So if this one detects smoke, they both go off. So it alerts both the upstairs and the downstairs.
That's important.
In new construction, the code now is that you have to have a smoke detector in every bedroom, plus the hallway, plus each level, and they are all interconnected. So if you've got 5 smoke detectors in your house, if one goes off, they all go off.
Guys, this has been great. We're going to have to cut. We've had a great show today. I want to thank both of you for being here. Might want to call you back later to follow up on some of this stuff. If you need information, call 299-4902, City of Clinton, or contact your local fire department. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today and remind you each and every week we come to you from Star Communications, WCLN, simulcast Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. I want to thank all of those folks for being with us. I want to particularly thank Taylor Strickland for being part of our crew today that helps the camera folks. We'll be back. Look forward to seeing you again next week, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host JW Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.